Okay, sige. Paki-turn off na yung yung audio. So, let me first allow me to discuss the chapter 1. Okay, once again, good morning class. So, this the week this actually for a week 2, which is a formal discussion for the chapter 1, which is the introduction to mobile applications. So, just to have an overview, last week we did an orientation with regards to the subject matters and the school orientations and so on. So now we have a lessons regarding the Android as part of developer. So as we all know that sooner we become a developer once we develop an applications. So with regards with these presentations, so this actually my reference as part of one of my reference from an international edition. So an Android for the developer using Java. So this actually cited and of course a reference that it's one of the top seller books which I chose since we using Java for the Android for developer. Okay, so now we go through with the objectives. So in this chapter, you'll learn to first understand the market for Android applications. So technically, if you're going to deploy an applications, what you need to do is you have an application using, of course, you need to register first through the Google Apps as part of developer. So going to discuss those as we go through, and also part of the objectives. What are those roles that we need to identify based on a different device in a mobile market? So later on, we could discuss those things and also the features that Android phone has. So from the evolution from the first year of implementation until the end, until the current year. Okay, so development still based on the different languages that could identify in Android development. So as we go through, we could identify those things. And last part of the objective is to describe the role of Google Play in terms of the mobile marketplace. So basically, that's a part of introduction. Okay. And in the second part, we need to create an Android based on Android Studio. That's our actually the IDE, or what we call that integrated development environment that we're going to use. Of course, the backend or the language that support with Android Studio is Java. But of course, may there's also a Kotlin as part of the language that associated with the Android. Okay, so not only Java, but we focus on Java since this the application that we're going to use as part of the language. Okay, and also part of the objectives, I will explain those role in terms of project view, in terms of specifying the layout and widget. What are those controls in terms of user interface? And as you go through, we're going to execute a simple application that could emulate based on Android Studio with an emulator. So through that, you could open and save an Android project using Android Studio as we go through with the succeeding presentations. Okay, that's the part of the objectives. Then now meet the Android. So there are three things that you need to know in terms of Android. The first one is the apps. Apps is different with applications. So applications, just to contrast between the two so that you could not mislead with the definitions or with the term, applications is the software, okay, in your Windows, okay, or in your Mac depending on the software capability. That's what we call the applications. But when the terms in Android apps, it's technically it's created based on application in smartphones. So technically, apps referred to mobile phones. So what are those mobile phone or the smartphones? Those are the iPad, if it's iOS. So we have for Android, if it's devices, for example, there are different provider in terms of the networks, but they're also um, manufactured in a different brand. Okay, but still, the cell phones is still intact. That's part of apps that you could see in your mobile. Okay, again, apps is a term created by smartphones. Okay, so don't confuse with these two terms. Okay, so with the second bullet, we have an open source operating systems. So technically, when you say open source, this is a freeware. So it's actually can download and distribute in any platform. We're in, take note for this, we're in, there's a part of upgrading, okay? Depending on the versions that developer who created a particular versions. Okay? Those are the open source. So let's say, for example, the current version is 11. Who knows by next year or the end of this year, we have an Android 12 to 13 and so on. So that's the evolution how the open source operating systems that capable to direct us with another version. Okay? So of course, there's a lot of consideration in terms of open source. And then the next bullet is the Open Handset Alliance. So it is 80 firms that develop standard for mobile devices. So in terms of development or standards, so those are the handset in the different devices. So it always depends on the architectural design or layout of that particular brand. So if that brand is not updated, so technically the different firmwares or the different um, package will not operate. So technically, they're not compatible. So if it's updated one, there's a released version that you need to update also. So those are the things that we need to know in terms of the Android, in terms of the technical terms that we need to consider. Okay, and then moving on with the third slide. So as you can see here, these are the Android phone devices. Okay, so I know you know those things. You could see that. Okay, even you have those things. Okay, but what are those features and capabilities? Are we a user alone? Technically not, because doing this subject, you will develop an application that could deploy or that could app with the different versions. Okay, so as you can see, there's our Moto X, Galaxy, Droid, Xperia, OnePlus, Nexus, and HTS One. And also, there's a tablets, MP4 players, internet TVs. Okay, so there are a lot of devices in terms of Android. So those are the things that the Android has. Okay, then of course, in meeting the Android, there's an emulator. So what is emulator? So the emulator is actually a virtual machine that could come up with an output of your running program. So technically, there's a mirror. Okay, mirror wherein you could see your output once you emulate the particular application or once you run the applications without having installing the apps. So technically, you could see if there's a inconsistency of the design, if it's a debug. So in real time, you could check, debug, and edit those things using emulator. Okay? And of course, emulator is one factor that, considering the fact that could check the as is version of your monitor as you deploy that for ready to, or if you're uploading that to a marketplace, considering that's finished. So technically, if you're going to publish that with the that or period APK format file, so that's a time that you could share. But in emulator, you can share, you for the meantime you can share because you developing it. You could test that through emulator. That's how the emulator do. Okay. On the next slide, so we have a different features that could describe the Android. Okay. So of course, the graphics, okay, facial recognitions, front and rear facing camera, multiple language support, on-screen keyboard, PM or the power management, voice based recognitions, Wi-Fi, internet tethering. So those are the things that the features of the Android has. But nowadays, there's a lot more because they continue to develop. Okay. So as we go through, of course, as we go through, we are also being a part of a developer. So we could develop much more. Okay. So also, part of those things, we could also, by the way, there's a description, so you could read between the lines. It's explained, but we focus on the added features. Okay. So in writing an Android apps, this actually a code behind that could create, again, we have a Java and Kotlin nowadays, okay, but Java is an OOP or object-oriented programming language that patterned after the C++ language. So technically, the language itself is evolved in a higher level. Okay, but considering a fact, Kotlin will not stop there. Okay, so it will deploy also in an Android market. So depending on the developers. So what he or she intended to do, as long as the syntax is correctly defined. Okay? So what will be the IDE? We can use that in Android Studio. Okay? As I mentioned a while ago, you can download that based on the link that I provided with our Google Classroom. All you have to do is download the updated version, then you can deploy that. Okay? As long as you meet the minimum requirements. And speaking of those IDE, as I mentioned here in the slide, or the integrated development environment, we could also dedicate those process in creating Android applications. So it includes the SDK or the Android Software Development Kit that actually pack. So meaning there's a package to associate with a different creator. So meaning if you're going to install an IDE, so it will also gives you a process through software development kit environment. So you don't need to worry to install another one. All you have to do is to update based on your current needs or based on the specifications that you intended to use. So that's how the Android Studio works out. Okay. And also, the thing that Android Studio has, it has an XML. Okay. So what is XML? Or that's why we call it extensible markup language, wherein we could have a layout that could create a design stage. So, for example, if you're going to lay out based on the um, length, width, height, and so on, so technically, you could have a design that is approximately based on the needs of the designer. So you can also program itself, but you can design and build with your own based on your preferences. So that's the creativity you can use for. That's how the emulator assists you with a different layout. Okay. So there's a layout that the Android Studio templated, but much better if you could create a new one. Much interesting. So depending on your creativity, how does it look like? Okay. So with the Android emulator, it also design, develop, prototype, and test Android app without using a physical device. As I mentioned a while ago, okay? Even if you don't have a mobile apps, or even if you don't have an Android cell phone or smartphone, that will be fine as long as I have an emulator, or as long as I have my laptop or desktop, that will be fine. So in Android emulator, you don't have to worry in any devices that you don't have. But of course, you need to install it first. Otherwise, you cannot deploy any applications. Well, actually, the devices that you need to have is to test the APK or the format that you need to install prior to deploy in Android market. So that's how it goes through. Okay. Actually, I mentioned it a while ago, but let's focus with the now with the version. So there's a version from 1, 1.5, 1.6, and so on. So as you can see, there's an alphabet, okay, in a different version. But the release date is based on the date that was created, which is first version is September 2008. Okay, and we have Cupcake 2009, Donut, Eclair, Froyo or Frozen Yogurt, Chico Bird, Honeycomb, Ice Cream Sandwich, Jelly Bean, Kit Kat, Lollipop. Those are the versions named that the Android mobiles or mobile phone are created. Of course, it depends on the developer who made those things. Okay, so to give you again an overview of those things we have here, I prepared the and icons for the Android apps. So you can see here. So well, actually, I when I saw these pictures and when I researched and retrieved those files yesterday, actually that's actually part of my research. I researched a latest one based on the Computer World articles, so computerworld.com. So as you can see on my retrieving resources, so much I actually familiar with the with the logo rather than um the year or the icon, but still I actually memorized that last night. But based on description that the Computer World gave to me, so those are the updated ones. So I will share it to you guys. Okay, whether if you want to search that, that will be fine. But for me, I'm enjoying seeing the icon, then explaining those things as we go through. Okay, so going back with these slides, so I have my pen here. So later on, I will simulate those things. So I think much better if I could use the other part of the PowerPoint slides. Okay, so let I share to you the part of the Android version based on what I searched. So technically, it's not here, but I will update. Okay, so I will insert those slides. Oh, it's not showing, but it's okay as long as we have the presentation here. So I will write those things. Okay. So first thing is the Android. Okay. So the Android version. So as you can see there, no, as you can see, the version list for the 1.0 or the alpha version or what we call the AP1, those are the initial version that was that's actually published year 2008 or approximately based on the history stated September 23. Okay, so we have actually the icon here. Okay, so as you can see, moving along with the current version, so we have the Android 1.5 or the Cupcake. So the API, when say API is application program interface, we're in the Cupcake version. So release that was approximately April 30, 2009. Yeah, 2009. Okay, based on my research last night. Okay, so what are the functions of the cupcake? So you can see that's a cupcake logo. Okay, the cupcake logo was again that's released in April 2009. So the features for that is on screen in terms of functioning, minimal search functions, uploading videos. They could upload videos, images. Okay, they also support the copy and paste facilities and the MPEG or the MP4 file, and also the 3GP if you're aware of that. That's actually how the part of the Android Cupcake capable with. Okay, so we're moving forward. Okay, wait. So there's my screen. Okay, then we have the icon, the third icon. So Henry about this part. Okay, the third icon is the donut. Okay, the API or the application program interface is the version 4. Okay, with the Android 1.6 that was released, dated based on my research again, September 15, 2009. It's capable. Part of their features is actually, of course, there's a Wi-Fi, um, Bluetooth, GPS, etc., and also the of course the gallery, the camera. So the speed the speed is actually improving. Of course, the camera is not as nowadays. The camera is not actually the higher or HD level, but they could quick searchly, or they could search the different apps as quickly as possible because there's no more updates within terms of the version of Donut. Okay, and of course we have after the Donut we have what do you call this, a clear. Okay, so the API is 5. Yeah, that's 5. Then Eclair version 2 to 2.1 was released based on the history again. That was December 3, 2009. Okay, so what is Android 2.0 Eclair? So simply the features is they could update the UI or user interface. And of course, they have the Bluetooth that could support. Actually, the Bluetooth is not as high as now. They have a version 2.1 approximately. They started 2.1. Okay. And still they support live and animated wallpapers. And they also enable to create a contact photos. Example, if you're going to example, they have a contact, need to picture that particular person or file, then they could sync in your contact. Okay, that's the idea. Take note. That's the idea of Eclair. Okay, Eclair started for having idea of taking of photos then upload that as a contacts. Okay, so after Eclair, we have of course, we have the Froyo. So letter A, it's alphabetically arranged actually. You don't need to confuse because it's alphabetically arranged accordingly and then according to version. So after again, we have start from the Android. We have Cupcake. Okay, donut. Okay, then we have now, I mentioned also the eclair. Then after the eclair, of course, we have here, what is this? Okay, so this the, okay, gingerbread. Yes, technically that's the gingerbread. Okay, so yeah, that's a gingerbread. So actually, the gingerbread, during my time, I used to do those things. I uploaded, because my version of my phone is not as techy as now. Okay, so during that time, so the gingerbread is actually more on updates of games, but they will suffer and have because of lagging. Okay, so one good example of those is the, if you have the facility to create web video or the webcam in the Victory VP8 format, it's enable you to transfer those files. Okay, and also the good thing of Jinglebird, um, there's a features that actually support in terms of the networking capabilities. So what are those things? Example, by the way, through that, they establish already they established already the, what you call that, the social media is a platform as a medium during that year, because that was released approximately based on the history, December 6, 2010. So that's the time that the social media platform are approaching. Okay, so those are the part of, actually, the graphics further are intense that time, during that time, and the gaming has boom in terms of mobile games. Okay, so that was Jinglebird. That's my first phone in Android. Okay, that year. That's why I'm very familiar of that. I do hope you should familiar too, rather than I, because you during that age, you're techy enough to explore everything. Okay, and I do believe that. And next we have, of course, we have the logo of honeycomb. Okay, so the honeycomb, it's actually the Android 3.0. Okay, so the API is considered as 11. Okay, so class, just to clarify, I didn't need to write those things because it's already included with the article. So you just search those things. But what I going to do right now is to explain those icons based on the presentations. Okay, and then um so based on my research again, Android 3.0 was released in 2011. That was a tablet base only. But they also launched by Motorola, or Motorola Zoom X, as in XOOM, not Zoom as in Zoom. Okay, that's a different thing. Okay, it is actually suitable for mobiles in a, what you call that, a larger and view version of smartphones. Okay, so I need to focus with the features. So the features capability for that, of course, the first thing is the Gmail, contacts, camera. So on email support, they are much more improved. Okay, and it support password capability with different characters. Okay, and also the good thing of the of the part of the honeycomb, okay, is that the media or the medium are sync. When I say sync, this actually synchronize with your SD card. Beforehand, during that time, there's a development of SD card. Okay, so there are a lot of SD card. It's actually expensive. It depends on the capacity, that you intended to have. But with that particular versions, what I did is to sync those pictures, the photo of mine, because I actually has a lot of photos in my phone that time. So the good thing about the honeycomb is that they enable to interact with the synchronization of media through SD card. That's the highlights of what I'm talking about. Okay, as compared with other version. Okay, and then what else that the part of the features of honeycomb? Of course, in terms of capability. Okay, given the fact that the time that there's an ebook, okay, so beforehand the ebook can only open with a browser, okay. Beforehand they open only if you subscribe with a particular ebook, but during that time they establish a part of the availability to download and open through mobile phone. So that's how the ebook and video chat are created. Okay, so the video chat, the video conferencing is much clear, and the voice are actually um in real time process. Okay, but of course it depends on the the internet connection if there's technical difficulties, and it of course it depends on the versions or updates that you are coming on. Okay, and that's the highlights for that. And moving forward, we have here is the what we call are this an ice cream? Okay. Or this a ice cream sandwich. Okay, ice cream sandwich. Okay. So I'm hungry right now. Okay. The ice cream sandwich is actually the API for the version 14. Okay. So that actually developed up based again on my research that was released on October 19, 2011. Okay, so giving the highlights of the ice cream sandwich. Okay, so the features is they could check the spell checking, or what we call the spell checker feature. So example, if the spelling is incorrect, okay, through that mobile, they will recognize. So that's the good thing. Whether you will not go to the browser and so on. Okay, they are capable, okay, to handle those situations. And also that's the time that the Wi-Fi are automatically direct or redirect. Okay, there's a capability of Wi-Fi direct as the technicals said of those things. Okay, and what are those features um as I memorized last night, okay, based on the previous lessons, that it's actually has a capability of unlocking the features based on with face fixing, or unlocking features based on face fixing. That's the also the main highlights. And also in terms of the ability, okay, to open up to take note, take note for this. There also there's an availability ability to open an applications or a tabs up to 16 tabs in the web browser. Imagine up to 16 tabs. But right now, more than 16 we can open it. As long as you're as long as you have enough storage, why not? But during that time, they could go away with the 16 tabs. So actually I didn't experience that because I usually do that those things in research on my tablet or on my laptop. Okay. But that's how the features of the capability of the ice cream sandwich. Again, the API is 14. Okay, and next, 10. Android 4.1, or what we call the Jelly Bean. Okay, so the Jelly Bean has an API 16 or 1.6. So the better version of Android. Ayan. So dito na pumasok yung better version. Pag naka-Jelly Bean ka, once you have a Jelly Bean version, wow. During that time, that was here, approximately June 2012. Because that time, as I recalled, during that month, that's my birthday, June, I brought a new phone, okay, which is a Jelly Bean with that particular Android 4.1. That was year 2012. It's in demand that that time, way back 2011. So I enjoy a lot with that API. Okay. So what the good things about is the capability of having a screensaver. Okay. What the good things that with this part in Jelly Bean, mm, the daytime. Okay. So on myself, okay, personally, I experience those things. I have a lot of photos. What I want is to make it screensaver. So with that particular version, there's an availability to show those screensavers automatically. So that's I enjoyed that feature so much in terms of screensaver. Okay. And also based on resolution during that time, it's actually support, take note for this, it's actually support 4,000 resolution. So meaning 4K resolutions. Okay? So resolution that could support. Okay? And if you have your laptop during that time, actually don't have laptop that that time. Yes, I have, but it's not that high as my mobile phone. Okay. Then also, one of the features of as I mentioned a while ago, one of the features of Jelly Bean also is that it could support with one good things about it is called it could also support the USB audio. Okay, if you have your USB during that time or the flash drive rather, so there's an capability to insert and then you could play along. Okay, because during that time I don't have my I don't have to carry my laptop because it's actually heavy. So what I did, all my audio, my presentations are actually intact with with the flash or USB drive. Then I see it that I could interact. I could switch that. Then they could open. So with that particular device, that based on experience actually because I having a lot of files to store. Okay, and what else that we need to highlight for this is that um the native emoji, okay, or yung or what we call the emoticons. Okay, the emoji support also, that's the time that emoji has a lot of of emoticons that you could see. Okay, so during that time I enjoy also the emoji because because a lot of surprising updates are given with that particular version. Okay, and then we have here this one is the lollipop. Okay, so the API is, so we have an API for 19, so 19 plus 3, 21. Okay, so we have API 21. So the version is 5 version, so that's the fifth version. Okay, so what are the highlights or what's the highlights for the features of the lollipop? Of course, one highlight for the lollipop version is it support a better device in terms of protection. Okay, in terms of protections, okay, so we consider the device in terms of the example, the password. That's a part of protections in terms of the lollipop versions. And also considering the fact that it support for multiple SIMs. For example, SIM 1, okay? So we also, example, if your SIM is Globe, then you could also have your son, okay? So they could switch between the two. So that's the time that the Lollipop version has been able to create a multiple SIM cards. And also, there's an HD or what we call the high definition voice call in terms of the Lollipop. And we have a Marshmallow. So that's actually version 6 with the API 23. Okay. So in Marshmallow, okay, so in Marshmallow, we have what we call the USB connector that is a type C. Okay. So the type C connector in Marshmallow, okay, are supported. That's the time that they also have the sleep mode capability, and they created also a saving features in a sleep mode, okay, based on the research that I've collected. And we have a Nogart, okay, so a Nogart, the features of course based on the um, better enhancement in terms of the applications. Okay, so we have here the Pi. Okay, so the Pi, so we have the Pi. So the Pi is actually has capability of having the AI. So what we call when you say AI or the artificial intelligence are compatible with that. Okay, and also we have an Oreo. Okay, so you can see an Oreo. Okay, so here in Oreo, we also create an updated version based on the process. Okay, and also that's actually an 8.0 versions that enabled for you to autofill the password, and also it able to auto enabled the Wi-Fi features. Okay, and a lot more. Then you can read between the lines if you have see those things. Then after that, the Android, of course, the Android 10. Sorry, you can see here because that's the update one. So the Android 10. So the Android 10 actually launched in September 3, 2019. So there's a capability of enhancement, followed by the Android 11, the one that we are, oh, on my case, I having right now, the Android 11 or the API 3.0. So those are the features based on the versions. So I research something else and you could do those things. Okay. And now we proceed with the different emulators. So you can see here we have an emulator from Nexus, okay, from a different device. We could use a live layout mode or a layout mode through a programming mode. So we could enhance as we go through. So that's how the example of those things, as you can see. And also getting oriented with the market deployment. So you could see the deployment. Of course, the platform consists of Android OS, that's the operating systems. Okay, you could see that in marketplace with a given links, which is the play.google.com. Okay, then programs must meet with the minimum standards based on the Google Play. Okay, we have the minimum standards as a pre or paid based on the 70/30 based on the um, developer and a wireless carrier. So technically that's of course there's a market. That's a value associated with that. Although the Amazon.com App Store and iTunes are both charging $99 for registration fee. Okay, so right now I think they decreased because of pandemic, and also if there's an update, they still increasing. But during the pandemic, right now, they will decrease some registrations. Okay, and in opening an Android Studio, you need to first download the developer.android.com/sdk slash index.html that I mentioned a while ago. So I do hope later on in our laboratory, as we go through, I could have a sample, I could build a simple Android application with the development based on my demonstration during our lab sessions. But right now, I will discuss those things, including the features and capability. Okay, you will need an application name, company domain, package name, location, as you could see on the screen. All you have to do is to create those information that's supplied in order for you to download. As simple as that. Okay, so in creating Hello World project, so of course that's very basic, but still we need to check how does it looks like. Okay, so open the Android Studio program. So assuming that we open those applications, so here we go. So opening Android Studio to create a new project. So here is the welcome message. Okay, so welcome to Android Studio page. As you can see on the screen, these are this is actually this screenshot of how you start a new project of Studio, project of Android Studio. Okay, so this also is slide. This also representation of slide that you need to create a new project followed by the configurations based on the project name. Take note, the application name is actually the name of that file name. Okay, so make sure that it's not ASCII characters in terms of creating an application name, same as the Java. So make sure that is well well defined in terms of creating a file name. Okay, and then we have a domain name. If you are, of course, in my subject sample, you could create a domain name .net as stated here. But in our case, we don't have a domain name because we don't have a domain coming from our institution, but I can provide if ever. Okay. So the project location is the workspace wherein you could locate the different path. So make sure that the path is standard or it's on your drive. So make sure that it's located properly so that all of the information are saved within the project location. Okay, followed by the next button. So as you can see here, there is the option if you could use a phone and a tablet. So depending on the version that you need to use, so you're going to select if it's the Android 4.0 or ice cream sandwich and so on. It depends on how you could how your SDK required. But in our case, the minimum SDK that we have is 5 point something. Okay. So next we have here the um, project in terms of creating a new project or a new one that consists of that applications. Okay, as we go through, we also hear an activity layout in mobile page. So, of course, what we're going to do is a blank activity as we go through in the demonstrations. Okay, and as continued, so the activity name is the main activity that is default name. But if you want to change, why not? As long as you know the activity name. Because during our development, we can have the activity name based on the required activity name that I need to create, or you have to mention those activity name based on the project that you need to create. Okay, then through that, then finish. So this is the Hello Android workspace. So this a, as you can see, this is a version 1, but I can show you my latest version. Okay, so, so this is the latest version. So I will open, or if you are an admin, just simply click run as admin. Okay, then as you can see, we have here the Android Studio, so powered by the IntelliJ, or the IntelliJ platform. Okay, so while it's running, so this is the loading components. So this is actually the latest, because on my slides, as you can see here, okay, this is like version 1. Okay, as we go through, I will explain those things. So while it's loading, I switch the presentations here. So building the user interface must be intuitive. So as I mentioned, the Java code or XML layout files are needed. Then we have here the Java folder. So the Java folder contains with the different activities. Okay. The Java folder is the Java files. Okay. So we have the REST folder that contains with REST means the resources. Okay. The folder that contains with the images, music, and videos. Okay, so moving forward, we have here the manifest folder and Android manifest. So those are the things that the application needs to run in able for it to interact. Okay, so I'm going to switch my screen here. So here is my screen so that I'm talking about. So I need to close this part. So this one, as that's as I mentioned, the Java, the files for Java, and the rest for the resources, as I mentioned a while ago. So that you can see here in project video. Okay. So in slide 21, we have the definition based on the virtual device. Okay. So the virtual device that we have is actually the emulator. Okay, so we have the layout, widgets, property pane, and the AVD. So in terms of the layout and the widget, the thing that you need to know is how that it process. Okay, because there it's already given, but what will be the widgets that would associate based on the control? Means say widgets, those are the controls that interact with your mobile phones or with your mobile devices. Okay, just to sum up, or just to in layman's terms, so that you enable to know those things. We have a properties pane. Those are contains with the current active project, or meaning the project that is currently used. And we have the AVD, or the Android virtual device, that associated with a different layout. Okay, so moving forward with the steps, actually that step, we're going to use those things, okay, as we go through with the applications. So that's for now for the lectures. Okay, so by next meeting, I will demonstrate the first app in generating an Android application through the laboratory. I will demonstrate how to use those things. But for now, that's main highlight of the lesson for week 2, which is Introduction to Mobile Application. Of course, using Android as your platforms. Okay, so thank you for listening. Okay, so have a nice day.